for today's devotional. I'll be continuing with looking at the minor prophets, and today we'll be looking at Micah chapter 5, verse 2, and what the Case for Christ Study Bible has to say about that passage. Micah 5:2 reads, "But you, Bethlehem, Ephrathah, though you are small among the clans of Judah, out of you will come from me one who will be ruler over Israel, whose origins are from of old, from ancient times." So, from of old and ancient times, obviously speaking of God, and Jesus happens to be born in Bethlehem and was from the tribe of Judah, which fulfills that particular prophecy. And that's what Lee Strobel is talking about today. The fingerprint of the Messiah, a case for Christ. Hundreds of years before Jesus' birth, prophets foretold the coming of the Messiah, or the Anointed One, who would redeem God's people. One prophecy, found here in Micah 5:2, was fulfilled when Jesus was born in Bethlehem. In addition to this prophecy, dozens of other Old Testament prophecies, when examined together, created a fingerprint that only the one true Messiah could fit. This gave Israel a way to rule out imposters and validate the credentials of the authentic Messiah. Now, there were actually a lot of false messiahs, and we'll see here pretty soon in Acts chapter 5, but this was really valuable to the early church, especially even before the church formed, actually, to the Israelites, to be able to validate the one true Messiah based on all of these prophecies that came together. So Lee Strobel continues, against astronomical odds, according to the one estimate, a single chance in a trillion Jesus, and only Jesus, throughout history, matched this prophetic fingerprint. This confirms Jesus' identity to an incredible degree of certainty. So we read from Acts 5 that there is an incident where Peter and the apostles were brought before the Sanhedrin for proclaiming the gospel about Jesus as the Messiah. Gamaliel, an honored teacher of the law, addressed the Sanhedrin and admitted that there had been several others who claimed to be the fulfillment of the messianic prophecies, but all of them eventually were killed. Their followers disbanded, and their claims eventually were unconfirmed. Gamaliel asked the Sanhedrin to release the apostles because if Jesus was not the Messiah, then the men would disband and forget about Jesus. But if he was the Messiah, the Sanhedrin would be resisting God himself by detaining these men to prevent them from spreading their teaching. Jesus' name never did die, and the gospel continues to spread around the globe to this day. Therefore, Jesus is surely the Messiah. The astronomical odds alone attest to that. So put your trust in him to fulfill his promises to you, just as he fulfilled the Old Testament prophecies. I hope that this was an encouragement to you. Keep reading from the minor prophets. There's lots of great stuff you can glean from them. Thanks for listening.